The War of the Roses Part 4. Edward E. The cuckold king, the good King Edward I was succeeded by his son Edward E., who ruled from 1307 to 1327. Unlike his father, he was an empty and idle man, though by no means unintelligent. Disliking his father, he nevertheless adopted the methods of his rule. His intentions remained the same, to rule alone and keep the barons in check. But to achieve this goal, he preferred to surround himself with people of low origin. Even during the lifetime of Edward I, he married Princess Isabella the Fair, daughter of the French King Philip IV the Fair. Becoming king, Edward E., together with his wife, led a brilliant and noisy life in the Tower, filled with love and war, political strife, religious celebrations and criminal intrigues. When Edward E. went away to wage wars, the lovely Isabella dispelled her boredom by receiving in her chambers Roger Mortimer, the handsome and brave Scottish baron who was at the time a prisoner in the Tower. Once Mortimer managed to sneak into the kitchen, climb up the chimney to the roof, and from there descend to the Thames and flee to France. It was an age-old story. It is easy to escape from prison if you have the love of the warden's wife. Isabella and Mortimer did not remain apart for long. Soon, having quarrelled with Edward E., the Queen returned to France. Here she found her lover, and together they headed an extensive conspiracy against her husband. In 1326, Isabella landed on the English coast. The Archbishop of Canterbury and the barons immediately rallied to her banner. Abandoned by all, Edward E. fled westward. He tried to sail out of England, but the wind blew his boat back to the Welsh shores. The Parliament deposed the unpopular king, and Edward E. submitted to his fate. In October 1327, he was secretly murdered in Berkeley Castle. But the usurpers of the throne did not triumph for long. 3 years later, power passed into the hands of the young Edward III, who executed Mortimer and sent his wayward mother Isabella to spend her last days in Rising's castle. Richard E., the last Plantagenet Richard E., the grandson of Edward III, was 11 years old when he ascended the throne in 1377, and he took the reins of power when he reached the age of 20. The young king showed great promise, but then his character suddenly changed. The king displayed a desire to wield unlimited power. Richard acquired a taste for pomp and extravagance, and his pride turned into a mania of grandeur. He dreamed of nothing less than deposing the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. Parliamentarians and lords who displeased him were expelled from Parliament. The new Parliament was filled with the king's appointees, and Richard confidently gripped English liberty by the throat. The Parliament meekly approved executions, exiles, disgraces, and imposed new taxes for the king. This continued for almost 10 years, but in 1399, while with his army in Ireland, Richard received news of a general uprising led by Henry, Duke of Lancaster. Hurrying to punish the rebels, Richard landed at Milford Haven with a 30,000-strong army. However, within a day, he was left with only 6,000 men, who soon also dispersed. The king surrendered at the mercy of the victor and was imprisoned in the Tower. In September, Parliament passed an act deposing him. Richard was childless, so Henry Lancaster claimed the throne. "As I am descended," he declared, in a direct line from the good King Henry III. Parliament recognized his rights, but within 2 years, a conspiracy arose to restore the crown to Richard E. However, a traitor revealed the conspirators' plans, and Henry sent assassins to the deposed king. With Richard E.'s death, the Plantagenet dynasty, which had ruled England for almost 250 years, came to an end. Due to the Angevin house's numerous marriages with English barons, French and Scottish kings, England was overrun with royal relatives. For the next 250 years, no English king could feel securely on the throne, as each monarch had to fear pretenders, sometimes more legitimate than the reigning sovereign. Continuation in the next part. If you like our videos, please subscribe to the channel, give a like, and leave a comment if you'd like.